My name is Zuleima Flores Abid, and I am the programs manager for NAMI California, and I've been working here for the last 3 years. So for me, I grew up in a household where we didn't really talk about mental health. My mom is an immigrant from Mexico. I pretty much wasn't aware of what mental health meant, but we used a lot of stigmatizing language that I now understand. But for me, when I was growing up, I really didn't understand what depression or PTSD was, but I knew that it was something that had to do with the mind. However, I just grew up in the household. My mom always emphasized education, and with her own experience coming here into the country, for us, it was just about work. And we pretty much talked about working hard and putting all our feelings to the side. If you felt depressed or sad one day, you really didn't talk about it. You just kept moving forward, because for us, we had that notion that you had to work hard and put all those feelings to the side, regardless of the situation. So there was no such thing as a bad day at our house, because we were just in survival mode pretty much growing up in our childhood. So we didn't really understand what mental illness or mental health was. So for me growing up, I noticed that I did have certain symptoms of being really sad for no reason, being really down, and my mom trying to help me by putting me into like extracurricular activities, dance, and so all of that really helped me to cope with that. However, I think I saw the reality of it when my mom was deported in 2010, and that showed me just how major my symptoms got, because I would start crying for no reason. I didn't want to eat anymore. I wanted to isolate myself from everybody, and I didn't know how to pinpoint it, because I was scared to go talk to someone in college, because it was during that time. And for me, instead of going to seek help, I tried to stay quiet and said, I'm going to push forward. This is just a phase. But my symptoms got really bad, and I, would have during certain periods of just crying and wanting to be by myself in college, and talking to my mom on the phone, telling her that I didn't want to be in college, that I just wanted to run away. And I noticed that that was when something critical was happening to me. And I went to go see a psychiatrist at the campus that I went to, but it was a horrible experience, and I never stepped back foot on that campus psychology department, because I felt like I wasn't being heard, and that my story and my feelings weren't being taken into consideration. During that time, we really didn't talk too much on our campus about mental health. We didn't really have support groups that you felt like you could go talk to them. You didn't have a club on campus focused around mental health. And for me, I saw that that was really a struggle for me. And the way that I was able to finally seek help was actually outside of the campus, and being able to talk to doctors and other people that had similar symptoms or similar experiences. And that's how I was finally able to get the help that I needed. But that really, for me, made me reflect how being on that campus, I couldn't find the help that I actually needed during that time. So for me, eventually I was diagnosed with depression and post-traumatic stress disorder due to the separation of families that happened when my mom was deported, and then me eventually realizing the feelings that I had. And for me, it was something really new and really hard for me to understand, because I went and I talked to my grandma about it, and she said, no, you just need to drink a tea, or you need to eat this type of food. And I had to explain to her, Grandma, that this is what I actually have. And it's probably some of the, people in our family probably have this as well, but we're not talking about it. So it was really hard, because there was even a lot of stigma within me speaking to my grandma and talking to family members, talking to my mom about it, because she didn't understand it either. And so it was really difficult for me to eventually even share my story. And I really didn't share my story until I got out of college and until I met NAMI. So that's when I actually started saying what was happening, the stigma that was occurring within my family, and seeing that it wasn't just in my household, it was communities all over that were being affected and didn't know how to have a conversation about it. So those were some of the first things that I started realizing, and eventually for me finding support with NAMI gave me that confidence that my story does matter and that there's other people that I can share my story with to help support them as well. So recovery looks, for me, a major part of it has to do with dance. So dance for me has been therapeutic since I was small. I started taking my first steps dancing. And so for me, that definitely is something that I take to heart because it helps me to have a sense of control, to have a sense of liberation, and it helps me physically, mentally. And so that's one important segment of it. Another is my family, making sure that I have interaction with them, that we talk, and that they understand, if I'm going through a specific phase, because you just never know when you have a condition, if you're going to be one day, doing really great, but another day you may need a little bit more support, or you may need to find that coping mechanism that works for you. So me, recovery means being able to find the balance every single day of what works for you, because maybe one day dance works for me, but the next day I may be struggling a little bit even to get into dance. So I have to find other avenues, and that could be me talking to a friend, or maybe going out and talking to my doctor. So for me, recovery just means finding what works best for you and being able to take it day by day as you go along through your own journey.